All right, everyone. Hello. Welcome to the Kilowatts. Today we are here with two beautiful, brand new 2021 Model 3s, and I just wanted to take an opportunity to kind of start the year off right, kind of share what's going on with our channel, and share what's going on with our rental cars, share whatever we can. So, if you have any questions, we'll be doing our best to watch the comments and reactions, and we'll just jump right into it. So, first of all, hello. My name is Ryan. I'm kind of the founder, so to speak, of the Kilowatts, of Kilowatt Media. And we'll have Cody Hatfield, kind of my partner in crime here, joining us. So I guess at a high level, as mentioned, Cody will be joining us. Who is the Kilowatts? So first of all, I am the kind of primary member of the Kilowatts. The way that I see it is there's kind of two parts to the business. There's the media business, the show that you're watching right now, as well as there's a rental car business. And that's a large part of what Cody's going to be talking about and sharing as well. From a media business standpoint, it's, as I mentioned, just me as the primary creator, working with a few of my friends, occasionally working with other creators in the space, and we're actually looking to grow the channel as well over time. Looking to have more creators in the channel, something like a donut media where there's several creators like myself that can create both in front of and behind the camera. So if you're interested in that, please also let us know your thoughts on that. We are based primarily here in the San Francisco Bay Area, as well as Cody, who I'll be introducing in a second, is based in Seattle. And then we're also working with a new guy, Gabe, and he's working out of Portland. So we're renting cars in all three of those markets, as well as you know, kind of making videos about cars. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and introduce and add, give me 1 second here. I'm gonna add Cody to the call. Let's see, boom. All right, there's Cody. Hello, Cody.
All right, can you hear me?
I can.
Awesome.
So basically, as you know, I just kind of wanted to go through and talk about kind of what we're doing in 2021, and specifically as it relates to the car business, you know, our vision with Cybertrucks, and wanted to kind of just open up for additional questions as well. So I think we've got like about 11 viewers, so we'll kind of leave it open for Q&A. But I guess just at a high level, can you introduce yourself, kind of a little bit of background maybe on how we met, and kind of just in your own words, kind of our vision for the rental car business?
Sure thing, yeah. So yeah, I'm Cody. As Ryan mentioned, I am based in Seattle. We started really working together in August or September of this year. Yeah, I met Ryan back in college, University of Oregon. Go Ducks. We have bonded over EVs and Tesla over the years, and so I was excited to get more involved in what Ryan was doing this summer. And yeah, it's been going pretty well for the last 6 months or so. So yeah, so I have two Model 3s up here in Seattle, as well as a Model Y will be up here pretty soon from Gabe in Portland. That will be up here in Seattle as well. So yeah, I've been sort of mainly involved in car rental business, as Ryan mentioned, as well as a little bit of some media stuff. I helped Ryan work on that buyer's guide, if anyone's seen that. And yeah, we have some other stuff we've been talking about, but yeah.
All right, thank you. So yeah, basically what it comes down to is I wanted to just talk about kind of our plans for 2021, and I'll jump into that. So effectively, yeah, we're working with Gabe, as mentioned, to basically, we have certain limitations on what we were able to get loans for and or to purchase ourselves. And so we're working with our good friend Gabe, who also went to the University of Oregon, to basically add vehicles to our fleet while we kind of wait and plan for the longer term vision of the brand. So kind of what you're seeing behind me here is two brand new 2021 Model 3s. And so I've got Gabe's cars right here. They were just delivered. And so if anyone has any questions on the 2021 Model 3s, we can go ahead and touch on that. But effectively, yeah, we with the channel, if you've been watching anything that we do, we are big fans of Tesla, and having the 2021 Model 3s here in the shop is awesome, and we've obviously wanted to make them a little bit custom. So Gabe got the cars a couple weeks ago, had them wrapped up in Portland, and then dropped them off down here for us to start renting out of kind of what we found as our most lucrative market. So I've got them kind of here in the background as kind of an optional discussion point if people have questions about them. But yeah, generally speaking, we're excited about the Teslas, obviously the Model 3s, the Model Y. We don't have any S's or X's. Generally, we found that those cars, for their daily rate, for optimization, they might not be the best cars, and we can get into that. And then also just the key card vehicles is something we're a big fan of. Separately, one of the things that we do on the channel is we review electric vehicles out on the market, and so we're looking at what else might be a good option for us to make videos about and also to rent out. And so one of the cars that we are probably almost definitely going to get in the early parts of next year would be one of the early Mustang Mach-E's, as well as we're looking at a couple others, maybe a Lucid, if people are excited enough about that and we see a rental potential. That one, given its price, we'll see, maybe an ID4. But yeah, the goal with the channel is just to make content about the electric vehicles that people want to hear about. So I'm seeing some questions starting to come in. Any chances for Model Y rentals, also a chance for rentals to expand in Maine? So yes, we have actually, as Cody may have mentioned, we've got, sorry, I want to add us both. We've got the Model Ys down here. We've got 2 Model Ys down here, Performance Y as well as a non-Performance Y. And then we've also got the Model Y that's going up to Portland. And I think, does Gabe has at least one Model Y, sorry, coming to you up in Seattle, is that right?
Yeah, well, I think one's still coming up to Seattle. I think he has one in Portland. That sounds right.
Okay, yeah. And then someone else asked a question about the headlights. Does the 2021 model have the new headlights, which I can show to some degree. Yes, it does have the new headlights. Let me see if I can even turn them on from my phone here. Let's go controls, lights. Oh, that's the wrong car. Got the brake lights for one. Let's see, controls, lights. So yes, it has the new headlights. From what I can tell, they are significantly different on that lower level, and the upper level still appears very much the same. But yeah, big fan of that. Someone's asking, do your cars have FSD? Yes, so every car that we rent out on Turo has FSD with kind of 1 or 2 exceptions. So right now, our goal with these was to kind of A/B test. They're both brand new 2021 Model 3s, but the blue one is a standard range without FSD. It just has autopilot, and the green one has FSD and it's dual motor. And so we're trying to see, kind of collect more data and understand which one would be the best. So there's that. I'm gonna continue leaving it open for Q&A. But yeah, basically the other thing I want to touch on, so we've got, and again, please continue asking questions about the cars or the channel, whatever your questions are, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. But one of the other things that I wanted to share is that we have like this film studio here. So in a big way, I jumped in on this after working at Tesla for 5 years. I decided that it was time for something new and started looking into what that meant. I was making media for the recruiting efforts at Tesla. I was enjoying it and I loved my team, but I had started to plateau and it was time for a change. And I'd already started renting out my cars on Turo. In my experience, Turo has been like the best platform for kind of more luxury or more higher end vehicles. And so I was making some money with that, not a lot, and wanted to optimize that and get 2 more vehicles. So I at the time had 3 Model 3s. I sold one and got 2 Model Ys. And then, yeah, basically needed to find a way to help tell my story, tell the stories about electric vehicles more directly. So as a result, I started looking for spaces that I could film in. And as you're seeing, we're currently in one. We're actually in a film studio here in San Francisco. And so I'm the primary leasee, and there's also several other offices that are currently vacant. So there's kind of 3 ways that I think about the business. There's the education and entertainment, which is kind of what you're seeing right now. There's the accessibility, which is kind of increasing kind of rental car availability, helping people see how accessible these cars are, helping them experience them for more than just a test drive. And then finally, there's the studio, which is kind of just like a externality. It's kind of just a side thing that, as a result of trying to do the rest of this, we found this space. Again, currently I'm the primary leasee. It's very costly, and I need more people in here. So if you know people in the San Francisco Bay Area with green energy focus, go ahead and let them know about the Kilowatts and let them know that there's some space available. I'm seeing some additional questions that have come through. So let's see. There's a question about will the Lucid Air join the Kilowatts fleet next year? I think this is a good kind of conversation for Cody and I to have. So my initial impressions, and I'll obviously open up to Cody, are that we probably won't. We do have a reservation for a Lucid Air. I actually don't remember which level we have. I think it's the base level. I think we adjusted down to the Lucid Air, just Air, I think that's what it's called. And so Cody, what are your thoughts on the Lucid Air?
Yeah, it's interesting. Because in terms of rental, you kind of mentioned we don't have Model S's or X's. There are reasons for that. We have kind of targeted, I guess, the mid-range, like Model Y, Model 3, and as well as I guess we'd be more interested in like Mach-E, ID4, like those cars. But for what I know, Lucid Air is, Model S price range. Is that right?
Yeah,
So
it's 69,000.
that's definitely something to look at. Oh, okay. So that's definitely something to look at. It's a matter of, how much can we rent it out for versus how much does it cost. We've also talked quite a bit about tax credits. Lucid Air would have the full tax credit, which makes, it makes a big difference for us in terms of rentals. I think it's a bigger deal than even just buying a personal car, because that really affects bottom line quite a bit. It's a pretty significant amount of tax credits. So that's definitely something to look at. We actually haven't looked at Lucid Air in detail as much as we have with other cars. So that's something to keep an eye on.
My instinct says that we probably won't, given it is Model S price range. But yes, as you're saying, the tax credits, I think it really matters who and what is going to be like renting out. And one of the things that we've been tracking is like, what kind of customers are we getting? There's a lot right now, obviously with COVID in place. There's a lot of people who are traveling, in a more limited sense. That we used to have a lot of San Francisco international travelers fly in, rent my cars, and then they fly back to their home countries. Now we're seeing a lot of people who maybe they live in San Francisco but don't own a car or think about getting a Tesla. And so it's a lot more local travel. A lot of people driving to LA, driving to Tahoe, who live here locally. And so if you're just looking for a tool to get from A to B, I think that the lower priced electric vehicles might be better for that. But the Lucid Air, maybe there's a niche for it. And so we'll continue to keep an eye on that. And even your comment there helps us to see that maybe that is something that's more lucrative and also worthwhile for the channel. All right, continuing down. When you rent it out, do you use the app on the phone or just the key card? This is a great question. If anyone here is actually looking at becoming a Turo host or wants to kind of work with us on this, keep this in mind. But effectively, one of the goals that Cody and I have for this year, as well as more last year, but one of the things that we always want to keep in mind is like, how do we provide a great experience while keeping our own labor to a minimum? And so what we do with that is we try to leave the key card in or with around the vehicle, as well as, yes, if the renter asks, or if, at least on my end, if the renter has got a longer trip, or if they're messaging me saying they're about to maybe buy one themselves, I make sure that they just send me their email address, and Tesla makes it super easy. I actually just did this right before hopping on this call with my Performance Y. We just give them app access. It takes just like a minute and a half. You can have up to 5 users have access on the go. And so it's actually something I've got to work out with Gabe with these vehicles, is getting my login set up where I can log in quickly and add an email address. But Tesla makes it very easy, and that's one of the things, going back to the previous question about the Lucid, one of the reasons why we rent out Teslas is it's really easy to give people that full, almost as if they own it, experience. And that's really our goal with accessibility. We want to make money with these cars, but we also want people to enjoy their experience and want to rent them out again. Cody, anything else you want to add to that?
I think as you've mentioned before in previous videos, like key card is pretty awesome in terms of rental. I actually personally removed phone key for me, and I only use the key card because once you have multiple cars you're managing, you can have one, I don't know if people know this, you can have one key card for as many cars as you want. Yeah. And so I just have one master key that I use, so I don't have to worry about, because if you have multiple cars on the app. I think only like one of them, the phone key works. It has to be like on if you swipe, it has to be the active one. So yeah, in that sense, the key card is pretty awesome. Um, yeah, and actually the Turo, you also, this might be a good time to mention Turo Go is the platform that Turo has that allows people to remote unlock and lock cars. It's for sure supported for Tesla, but that's something else to consider is which cars is that supported for? Because that, that's great for us because people can check into the car remotely. And I can say from experience, actually, one of the cars up here right now, the integration is broken and people can't lock and unlock it remotely. So I have to do it through the Tesla app for them, which isn't a big deal, but it definitely is a pain point. If future cars didn't have that, that's something to keep an eye on.
Absolutely. Good point. And yeah, I've definitely experienced a little bit of that. The integration, for the most part, works 95% of the time. I've had to get disconnected, had to log back in and whatnot. But overall, yeah, having Turo Go so they can lock and unlock, we have a pretty strict set of photos that we require. And also, the other thing that Tesla does really well, which is like a pin to drive or a pin to access the glove box. So we can secure the key card safely in there. And it's not like a fob where as long as it's in the vehicle, the car will start. The key card has to be found and relocated to the right location to start the car if we're not giving phone access, or we give phone access once they've taken the photos. So some kind of like tips and tricks there for using Turo if anyone wants to kind of join us on that journey. Let's see. Would you consider converting some of your YouTube content into audio podcasts for listening on the road? Yes. And actually, that's kind of what I want to start doing with some more of this stuff. This is me getting used to more of this format, more of an audio-driven format. But yeah, the intent would be to open up a podcast long term. So great question there. Something that I want to do with the media side is make it more accessible to different environments. I know when I had a more traditional commute, I was always listening to some of my favorite creators, Yes Theory, MKBHD, listening to their podcasts. And so you're a pretty big podcast listener as well, right?
Oh yeah, audio is my favorite medium.
Okay.
I love YouTube, but I do prefer to listen. So I would +1 that for sure.
All right, let's see. It would be cool to rent out the Cybertruck with a camping package, like the picture they showed. Yes. So that's our kind of long-term vision. It's very tied to our long-term vision. We think that electric vehicles make travel, kind of recreation much more accessible. So one of the things that we're doing, again, with these two cars behind us is collecting data about what people want. Do they want just kind of their cheapest way to get from A to B, 260 miles of range, rear-wheel drive, and basic autopilot, or do they want all-wheel drive, FSD, give me the whole kimono? So with that, we're collecting data to justify what we'll end up purchasing with Cybertrucks. If you've seen some of my other videos, we've talked about this a little bit before, but we've got over 50 reservations as kind of a team here to put Cybertrucks on the West Coast. And that's kind of one of the things I wanted to assert with this video is like, hey, we are hopefully going to be the Cybertruck outlet on the West Coast. Cody up in Seattle, Gabe in Portland, and myself in San Francisco. We've got a couple friends we're talking to in LA as well as maybe San Diego. And our goal is just to make it really easy and accessible to have people that don't necessarily want to buy Cybertrucks, give them an opportunity to try Cybertrucks. And one of the things I've been thinking more about is kind of, assuming that these cars behind us indicate that Cybertruck will be best at certain lower price points. If it's best to get just the standard range, maybe not get FSD. I want to have some kind of more halo cars. And actually, I've even started, Cody, you don't know this, but I've started to come up with some like fun names for them as well. I want to have one that's better maybe for like hunting. And it's like, we've got in any single market, we've maybe got 5 standard range Cybertrucks, and maybe we'll have 2 or 3 dual motor, and then 2 of the maxed out tri-motors. And yeah, I was thinking like there could be one that's designed for camping, and it's called the Yosemite. There's one meant for Tahoe, and it obviously would be called Tahoe. And I think it might be fun to give those names. So far we've named our cars based on like earth themes or elements. So like smoky, ember, Yeti was, but that was going to be Snowy, but I ended up calling it Yeti. And yours is called Capella, your Model 3.
Capella,
And what's the thought
there's,
with?
yeah, there's a backstory. So basically, it's like a double meaning. So Capella is a star, and the star's gravity is about the same as the acceleration. It's the closest star I could find that had a good name. Uh, so the gravity of the star is about the same as the acceleration of the car.
Wow.
And then also that star is part of a constellation that's a charioteer, which is, a mode of transport. So there's some relation there.
Okay.
It took quite a while to find that name, but yeah.
Okay. And I guess backing up to the actual question, but by the way, I didn't know that level before. But backing up to the question about Cybertrucks, like, are you thinking that it's going to make sense, like I'm suggesting, to outfit some for specific trips, or is it going to make sense just to have stock? I mean, I know I want to wrap them all. I want to make them all 50 of them. I want to make them orange.
Of course.
But what are
yeah,
your
I think
thoughts?
that's definitely interesting. Just from my perspective in Seattle, like most people that are renting our cars now are going to the mountains, or to the coast. They're getting out of the city. It's usually people that are already in the city. They're getting out and going on some adventure. Or it's people that are thinking of buying a Tesla that want to try it out for some period of time. Those seem to be the most popular. So with Cybertrucks, that definitely fits, getting out of the city and going on some adventures, whether that's camping or going to the mountains or, anything like that. So I think, yeah, and targeting specific cars for specific uses is pretty interesting. I think we definitely couldn't do that today with the size of the fleet, but if you have a big enough fleet, then you could really start to get creative like that.
Yeah.
Because you could actually pick and choose, where right now it's like whatever car is available is what people are gonna book.
Yep.
But yeah, that's interesting.
All right, we got some more questions coming in here. Let's see, talking more about our business on Turo. Why do you wrap your Teslas when Turo doesn't cover the wraps under their terms of service? That's a good question.
Good question.
To be honest, in my opinion, or at least my approach to it started as, well, I just like to have my cars be a little bit unique. I wanted to, and I also, as it related to renting them out, want them to stand out on the platform. I don't want to just be, any other Tesla, especially here in San Francisco. A black Tesla would be a dime a dozen. And I want customers who are willing to pay just that extra dollar for that little bit more unique experience. My intent is to provide them with the best experience possible, and so make it just a little bit better. And as a result of getting that slightly higher end customer, maybe there's less of a chance of damage, less of a chance of damage to the wrap. And then also, I know how to wrap a vehicle, and it's not that expensive in the physical parts. It's just mostly the labor. So if something were to happen in one part of the car, takes a small amount of damage, especially just like a scratch to the wrap, we can replace that. And Cody, as you think about kind of more that long term, Cody's more on the data side. As you think more on that long term, do you expect we'll be wrapping more of our vehicles long term, especially when you think about Cybertruck, or do you think from a data standpoint, once we have more of a differentiated brand, it might make sense not to do that as much?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think when we first started doing this, that was a question I had, is like, well, how much value does this wrap add? Is it worth it? So up here in Seattle, we have two long-range all-wheel drive Model 3s. One is midnight silver, stock color. One is wrapped in bright orange. And we've done a little bit of experimenting. For a while, I had them priced at the same, and the orange car always got booked first, like every time.
Hell yeah.
And I had to basically have to lower the price of my car, the silver car. I think it's mainly anecdotal evidence, but it's pretty obvious to me that the wrap, at least the orange wrap, does add quite a lot of value and definitely pays for itself. So Ryan has definitely turned me, yeah, hence now we have this bright blue car. But yeah, my viewpoint now is like we should wrap all cars. I think we need to learn more about, like, we really only have data on the orange. So I'm excited about these cars because we'll get more data. Like, is it because it's just unique, or is the orange special in some way? I think that's something we can learn more about. Also, to the point of Turo, I'm not sure if if there's any damage to the paint, like wear and tear to the paint, I'm not sure Turo would cover that either, right? So
Scratches larger than 3 inches, they would, and yeah,
larger than 3 inches.
yeah. So
Yeah.
we are putting a little bit of risk out there, but we're also recognizing that, you know, likely if anything happens, it's a low enough cost that we're willing to eat it. But it's a very valid question, and I think, you know, a lot of people. We've actually got a friend, at least I have a friend out in Arizona, who, based on my experience, decided to start renting out his car. He has this really beautiful, like matte black in the front, gold in the rear, Model 3. And he's got some other, you know, accessory parts that aren't stock, as well as this wrap. And the very first renter to take it out, just abused the car. And, you know, he had some serious damage. And yes, he ate some costs associated with his wrap and associated with his accessories. And I felt terrible. You know, this is his baby, and that was happening. Whereas these cars have become, and it was a discussion that Cody and I had early on, was that, you know, these cars are assets. You know, as such, we have to kind of act like that and think like that. And we have to be ready to repair them if something happens, and be okay if there's damage, and just, you know, do what we can to work through the appropriate channels for insurance and all that. So it's a valid question. We've chosen to wrap just to differentiate and to have a little bit more fun with the cars. And we also found, as Cody suggested, a slight correlation to booking, especially when they're the same price. So great question. Let's see. What vehicles do you drive personally? And then there's some more great questions. Thank you. It looks like 7 for your questions here. What vehicles do you drive personally? We drive these whenever they're available. You know, we have a very interesting approach to our business model, basically suggesting that by renting these cars out, as long as we price according to demand, there's often going to be one car that hasn't been rented out. And so if there is a car that's available, I will take that as my own for the weekend, for the week, or, you know, sometimes I'll be without a car and I'll go rent a car from Turo for myself just for a day. And that happened last week. Actually, ironically enough, the day before Gabe dropped these off down here, the 2021s, I rented a Model 3 from Turo while my Model Y was out, which my Model Y was out making me $150 or making us, $150 a day, whereas the Model 3 cost me $111 for that day. So for the 2-day rental I had the Y out, it made sense just to take someone else's Model 3. And that was actually my first experience of the holiday update as a result, because my cars were all out. I didn't get a chance to experience the software update until I got into someone else's car. When the Tesla network launches, will you guys operate a fleet for the network or stay on Turo? I'll let Cody answer that one. I think we're on the same page here, but Cody, you go first.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, we don't know for sure what we'll do, but I do. Yeah, we are definitely learning a lot about Turo. I think Turo's the only platform I've been on personally. I don't know if you did other platforms in the past or not, Ryan, but
yeah,
we're definitely learning a lot about Turo and discussing, you know, pros and cons and what Turo provides. And, you know, we are looking at what would it be like without Turo. And, you know, another option is certainly Tesla Network. I'm unsure if, I mean, I think that's only robo-taxis, right? I don't know. I guess there's been rumors that they might do like a car sharing service before. I don't know.
I hope they do.
Yeah. Obviously, the Tesla network, though, would only be Teslas, I think. So what about the other electric cars? That's something to think about.
Yeah.
They could add other manufacturers. That'd be interesting.
Well, yeah, there's several questions that you just brought up there. I think, you know, as I think about it, the Tesla network I think Tesla personally should roll out some kind of car sharing service prior to full autonomy, the robotaxi that comes picks you up. And I think they should do that at Tesla service centers. And there's, you know, I think they might even be able to do that this next year. So I've got some thoughts on that, and thinking that they should move on that, make the cars that people own, like us. I think they could start to roll that out and make the cars accessible in a shared way very soon. You know, full autonomy and robotaxi, that hard to tell exactly when that will hit. You know, it was supposed to hit before last night, and you know, we're sitting here with 2 non-fully autonomous cars. So we'll see what happens with that long term. But yeah, I think that we intend to do whatever makes the most sense from you know, an accessibility standpoint, and as well as a business. And so for the time being, that means that we will continue renting these cars out on Turo, and if it's more profitable and better for the world for us to switch to Tesla's network, we'll absolutely do that. And then you kind of hinted at other platforms. I did try out Getaround, both as a end user, as a customer, as well as a host, and Getaround was fine. I think I initially had some more nervous energy when I first started this. I was in a very different financial position. The car was my only car at the time, and I didn't have that much extra if something happened to buy another car, partly because of stock, specifically Tesla's stock. I'm now in a different financial position where I can own more cars, and if something happened, it wouldn't be, I'm without transportation. So, yeah, what am I saying with that? So, Getaround being a more short-term rental, it made me more nervous at putting my own, at the time that car was my baby, and putting that on Getaround where it could be used by 3 people in a day. And, if the first person scratched a wheel and the second person, messed up a fender and the third person messed up a bumper, at the end of the day, how am I even supposed to know who did what? There's less of a check-in process. There's less controls, and also pricing. I intentionally wanted to be slightly higher in the market than some of the other people who had listed vehicles on there, and that was kind of too difficult to set within Getaround. So while I respect their platform, it doesn't seem to me to be more of a luxury brand. And then actually just recently as a customer, because all of my cars down here in the San Francisco market were out on rentals, I used someone else's like Acura MDX, I think is their SUV that I tried. And I got in the car and there's a little scuff on the bumper. I think that's fine. And I put the car in drive, and wouldn't you know, and I don't think you know this, Cody, but the mirror had been basically sheared off. It was hanging from its like cord for that, like for whatever like signals that for whatever antenna is in the mirror. But the mirror is just hanging off. And this car was a 2020, probably 2 months old. It still had its temp plates on. And so, yeah, really, really unfortunate to see that. And that gave me a little bit of fear with Getaround. But definitely looking forward to more competition in this space. I'm fans of Turo. There's things that they could do better, especially as it relates to their costs and insurance. So competition is good, but for luxury cars or for at least higher end cars, I would say Turo is kind of the move for the time being. All right, someone's actually adding, great comment here. Getaround is no longer allowing luxury vehicles. Yes, and so horrible clients from that platform, plus the terms of service said curb rash was normal wear and tear, which was crazy. Yeah, so Getaround is meant for kind of those lower end cars. I'll still use it for short trips on the weekends or weekdays when I don't have a car. But as a host, we're going to stay away from that for a little bit. How are supercharging costs handled on Turo is another question that we're receiving. So, Cody, I'll throw that one to you.
Sure, yeah. So we do basically get reimbursed for all supercharging costs on the trip. So, if you're a Tesla owner, you know that when you go to a supercharger, it just charges the car that's on file. So really, a renter just plugs the car in. It's actually, it's the greatest experience you could ask for as a user. All you do is plug the car in and it charges. And then after the trip is over, we go through all of the receipts, which is a pain, and add them up and ask for reimbursement from the renter, which is, yeah, I have mixed feelings about the process. It's definitely not, it's like good at the time on the rental, but as a renter, like I wouldn't want to get another bill, and it can add up long trips. It can be another $100 or so of charging, and it's not very obvious on the trip, how much you're paying. It will say the last amount on the touchscreen, but yeah, sometimes it's kind of strange for long trips. But that is the process right now, that we do ask for reimbursement at the end. But there are definitely some improvements that could be made there. You also only have a certain time period to ask for reimbursement, or else Turo won't help you out, which recently I did miss the 72-hour window to ask for reimbursement, which is a pain because then Turo won't help you get the reimbursement back. So yeah, that's how it works. There's definitely some improvements that could be made, but yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And then with with reimbursements, one of the things that I want Tesla, if anyone from Tesla hears this or is listening live, one of the things that I would love just from any really, like, it obviously would benefit people like us more than most, but the ability to filter receipts, the ability to, when we go back, I've got a month-long trip going on right now, and that's going to be just a pain to have to open every single receipt and make sure that the VIN matches his trip, and then to collect that. And so, with our intent to make it a great experience and a relatively hands-off experience, would love if Tesla would make that a little bit smoother. We've been using Street Smarts, which is an outside platform that plugs into both Tesla, not as fully as it maybe could, but plugs into Turo, as well as looks at tolling agencies, and we're able to do a little bit of batching for that. So that saves us a little bit of time. But yeah, definitely looking forward to, as Tesla marches towards a robotaxi, to make it easier for us as vehicle hosts, as owners, to filter through and collect receipts. And that could actually be beneficial too for like families. If you've got someone in your family, you all got your Teslas in the same account, for that as the account that you purchased those vehicles with. Maybe it would be easier for, hey, you're trying to make sure that little Timmy knows the price to own a vehicle, so you're monitoring his spending, you're monitoring his charging, and able to kind of accurately reflect that, taking away from his allowance maybe. So I think especially as Teslas, kind of used Teslas come down in price, and there may be someone's first vehicle, a $35,000 Model 3 is kind of pricey, but when it comes down to around $20,000, it's the safest car on the road, fuel's inexpensive. It's something that I think a lot of people might have as their first car, and I think it makes sense for Tesla to implement that, even if it's not for robotaxi, if it's just for families that have multiple Teslas in there. So let's see, we've got a couple more questions coming through. I don't want to go too long, so we'll wrap up in the next 5 minutes or so. So if you guys have questions about, again, our rental car business, the two Model 3s, the 2021s behind me, our film studio and the media efforts, we'll continue taking questions about all of that. And I'm seeing a couple more people jumping in and asking some questions. So let's see. Do you have a vision for the total number of cars in your rental and robotaxi fleet and any particular time frame? I don't want to give away too much on this one. Cody and I actually just really looked at the data, and we have some assumptions, and this is kind of like our secret sauce is more in that Cybertruck vision, and so it's something that anyone could really do their own math on and make some assumptions, but at least we've backed it up with some of our experience. But I would say it's going to take probably more than 5 vehicles to replace what I see as like a salary for Cody and myself, Gabe. So it's a combination of, okay, so how do we keep our costs down and park 5 vehicles safely? How do we increase our utilization? So 5 vehicles is very much a reasonable-ish number for what we're looking at right now. With the in the Bay Area, I guess actually, yeah, I'm at 5 vehicles now. Cody, you're at 2 or 3 once Gabe brings you a Model Y up there, and so we're stretching ourselves to see what works. Cody lives in just a standard apartment and has parking in his apartment for 1 vehicle, as well as around his apartment, and as well as charging there within your apartment. So figuring out charging and parking for that 5+ vehicle per market fleet is important, and then long term we're looking to have more than 10 vehicles per market and being able to pay a couple people to help us with that rollout. So
yeah, also the Cybertruck won't fit in my parking spot.
Oh no,
the charge.
You got to move.
There's no way.
Cody, you got to move.
I know. We got to figure that out.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Let's see. Which EVs are you most excited about for 2021 and most interested in for your business? That's a great question. Personally, and I'll open this up obviously to Cody as well. Personally, I'm excited about any key card vehicle that Tesla makes, and that could be the future Model S, Model X. I'm excited about anything that uses a key card because Tesla so far I've seen it having the most streamlined experience. The best phone app, everything like that. I'm not excited about things like the Chevy Bolt, even though maybe from a price standpoint it makes sense. It's just not the best experience for anyone involved. But I am excited about the Mustang Mach-E. It seems like they've done a great job with the actual car as well as the phone app. I'm excited to experiment with the accessibility there. The VW ID4 I could get more excited about. It felt a bit cheap on the interior. It felt a bit inexpensive, but in many ways it's a very capable electric vehicle. And honestly, there's some things that also are pretty nice about it. There's some things that Tesla could learn, like the way their trunk shuts, their way that I'm trying to think of like what do they have? They've got these little like back massagers in there, which I think is a bit unnecessary. It just kind of rolls up and down your back. But yeah, those are some of the most. Oh, obviously, the Rivian. I think because from a ground up standpoint, they've got the most potential to succeed. Maybe followed by Lucid, and that could be a whole separate debate. But I can't wait to see the Rivians on the market. But obviously, their van's exciting from one standpoint, but then also the R1T and the R1S. The R1S will be the highest capacity consumer electric vehicle on the market at the time, seating 8 people, where the Model X doesn't even do that. So there's a chance we will go forward with our purchase of that, depending on where we're at in the market. But obviously Cybertruck as well. So Cody, what are you most excited about? And you're the one maintaining our buyer's guide, so you know a little bit more on the data and the price of those vehicles and how that would affect our purchases.
For sure. Yeah, I'm excited about the Mach-E. I think it just seems like Ford is like going straight after Tesla in like a good way. Like if you look back at iPhones and like Samsung, I feel like everyone jumped on the bandwagon and basically took the iPhone, right, and essentially copied it into their own. I feel like that's what the Mustang Mach-E is doing in a good way. Like I think that's what everyone should be trying to do. It's like just try to make what Tesla's doing. But of course they have their own branding and their own twist on it, and they got some more physical things in there for
knob.
It seems to be the biggest complaint is people want like knobs. I'm excited about the Mach-E as well as the price point from rental perspective. I think it's pretty attractive. And then Rivian, I'm pretty excited about. I think it's very like Rivian's going after a very specific market. And I think for rentals that could be super interesting, although it is expensive, especially compared to a Cybertruck. But I do think, I still think that like Cybertruck and Rivian are not competing as much as a lot of people think they are necessarily. Like I do think they are just going after a little bit of different markets, especially with the Cybertruck's look. I think will be very different. People wanting the Cybertruck versus wanting Rivians. But yeah, I'm definitely excited about Rivian and the Mach-E for sure.
And not the Hummer?
At the top of my interest.
You're not thrilled about
the Hummer's cool, but it's pretty big.
Pretty big and pretty pricey. Yeah.
And pretty pricey. Yeah. I don't know. I get excited about the cars that, people I know are going to buy. It's like any car that, people that don't have an EV now and that will buy one. Like I have one friend that is getting a Mach-E pretty soon, and they wouldn't have gotten a Tesla probably. That's pretty cool to see. So I know some people that, people I used to work with that have been waiting for a Rivian for a long time, and they wouldn't necessarily buy a Tesla, but they are totally interested in the Rivian. So I think that's really cool to see. And then, yeah, I guess higher end cars are cool, like Hummer, Lucid, or Taycan are cool, but I like the cars that will move the needle a little bit on actual EV adoption, I guess.
You said that better than I could. That's exactly why I'm in it, and that's why I enjoy working with you, is because you and I think about it the same way. It's like we gotta increase that adoption, and we're doing our part to do that. And the Taycan helps because it brings technology that maybe otherwise wouldn't be in the market into the market. But yeah, I'm more interested in like when a VW or an Audi comes out with an EV because it's more accessible. So great question, Cody. Great answer. I've got some questions here about how many Cybertrucks and where you're going to park them. We've got I'll just jump into this. I think I may have shared this a little bit already, but we've got more than 50 reservations for at least 15 of each spec, and we will get whatever makes sense at the time. We're kind of collecting data to see what makes sense and what we can manage. But yeah, we basically see it being the kind of thing where we'll get however many we can manage and make them as accessible as we can. And so that could be potentially up to 50 throughout the West Coast, and we'll be working with people up and down the West Coast to manage them, or maybe we're just getting 5 or 10 of them, and just the 2 people that you're seeing here, Cody and Ryan, are the ones managing it. So we'll see, and we'll with just 5 of them, or just like around 5 of them, I can park all 5 here, and they'll only be parked when they're not in use. And my intent is to have them in use all the time. So that way, I don't even, I should almost never have all 5 parked in one location at the same time. But, COVID taught us anything, it's that you have to, prepare for the worst. And so if anything should happen, we'll have enough parking, or we'll utilize some street parking or local public parking lots. But that's a good question. It's something that we're sorting out. And, as we think about maybe having up to 10 plus vehicles in a market, we're definitely starting to look at what parking might mean. How do you finance your cars? Do you lease them, or do you purchase them with cash? Good question. We own just a small number of the vehicles that we operate currently. A lot of them are financed. And long term, we are probably going to look for investors. So in order to have, let's just say we actually do get all 50 of those, we're going to be looking for investors. And that's partly why we want to be more public about the vision for what we're doing, and kind of talk about, here's our strategy now, and show how that evolves over time, is because we'll be looking to have some people participate in this journey with us, so that way we can increase accessibility, increase education, and do all that. So yeah, definitely a direction that we're considering is how to actually make that many purchases of that many vehicles. We're maximizing our leverage right now. And again, the reason why we even have these 2021s Model 3s in the studio is because we're working with someone who has worked with financing more than we have. And so he was able to finance a larger number of vehicles than I was able to, or than Cody was able to, as we look at it that way. How do you figure out how much demand will warrant buying as many cars as you have? Let me read that just to get exactly as they wrote it. How do you figure out how much demand there is to warrant buying as many cars as you have? Cody, what are your thoughts on that one?
It's a good question. I mean, that's, basically our strategy has been to try to gather data as much as we can. And that's part of the reason we have these 2 new cars, really, is not to necessarily make more profit, but to gather more data. So we have a lot of data on how Model 3s and Model Ys perform in Seattle and San Francisco. Part of the reason we're interested in the Mach-E is not because we want to make a bunch of money off it or anything, but because we want to figure out what the demand is for it. And really, the only way to do that is to really get people to actually buy it and put it on the market.
Yeah.
We really don't know. So that's, I think the main thing is really like the pace that we scale at, right? If we scale too fast and we don't understand what the demand is like, that can hurt us. But we also need to scale somewhat to learn what the demand is, in some sense. So that's kind of our strategy, but.
Yeah, and it's a willingness. It's a willingness to take a risk too. If one of our cars, or if we buy too many cars and we're starting to see that we're oversaturated, we might have to sell a car or multiple cars at a loss. But exactly as you said, kind of scale up slow, kind of see what the demand looks like, and then with Cybertrucks, we're gonna get one as early as we can, so we can see what the demand is. And one of the reasons again why we're gonna get like a Mach-E early on is to check the demand and see what that demand drop-off looks like. With Model Y, for the first several months of Model Y in San Francisco, I was able to rent it out for $200+ per day, no problem. Now my performance Y, I still have it priced around $200 per day, but the non-performance Y, I think we're charging about $175, $165, and after Turo's expenses, we're not getting more than $150 a day for that car, where I used to get $200 a day, even for a non-performance. So just feeling out demand and watching kind of how that curve goes down. And again, working with people like Cody who can help extrapolate on that data to interpret it and help make decisions for, is it just because this is a new EV and people want to try it out because it's new and they're willing to pay that extra price? And will that last kind of in the long term? So let's see, what do you expect from the upcoming refresh of the Model S and X? Just high level, I think that we're going to probably see Plaid. The Plaid tri-motor powertrain will probably come to S first. I'm hoping they do the same with X at the same time. The X has been very much hush hush. There's not been as much talk or even excitement about it. And if they do it in the S, I don't see any reason for them not to do it in the X. The only exception would be I also want to see them do some kind of exterior and interior updates. I know that certain things have leaked. I try not to put too much stake into some of those leaks because Tesla changes things so often. But if you look at like kind of their North Star, like in my opinion, that North Star is becoming more and more so robotaxi, and it's why I think we'll see Cybertruck hit the market before the Roadster 2020. And so I want to see, while I want to see the Model S perform at like the highest level, I want to see it beat everything around the track to some degree because I know they can do that. I also want to see them implement things like the internally facing camera that the Model 3 and Model Y have. I want to see them, implement key card. I want the cars to be accessible from a robotaxi standpoint. Even the Plaid Model S, I guess, which is maybe a little bit silly, but I want Tesla to have this basically like fleet of options. And if you want the luxury experience, you can just go on the app and get the highest end Model X that goes 0 to 60 in 2 seconds. Or you get a standard range Model 3 or a Cybertruck to fit 7 people and your gear. So that's my thoughts on it. But any thoughts on the rumors? I know I'm a little bit more on the Tesla fan side of things, but any thoughts, Cody, on the rumors about the upcoming Model S and X?
Yeah, I don't pay attention to rumors too much, but yeah, I think the Plaid Model S is pretty interesting. Of course, there's all the interior. I do think, especially if you think, if they're gonna have robotaxi in the Model S and X, they definitely are gonna need to do something with the interior. I think because the Model 3 was designed for robotaxis from the beginning. I think with the minimalism and just like having a landscape display and not a portrait display is like simple things like that. I do think needs to come if the Model S and X will be part of the robotaxis. That's a good question in itself. Is will they be putting those cars in robotaxi network? I mean, I guess why not? But yeah, it'd be interesting. We'll see.
Yeah, it's worth considering because I think robotaxi is it makes most sense. Like we're seeing with for example Uber. It's kind of a race to the bottom with Uber and Lyft. For a while, Lyft was the cheaper option. You wouldn't get, for example, like an Audi in Lyft, but you'd get it in an Uber. But now it's Toyota Corollas and Camrys are kind of the go-to cars. So I think we're gonna potentially see where the 3 and the Y are more of the cars that are used on shared platforms, more shared, even like the Tesla's network, but we'll see in long term. And it's a good question that we're going to keep our eyes on, especially with our demand. Let's see, we've got actually quite a few questions coming in. And Cody, I don't want to hold you too long, so let us know or let me know if you need to jump at all, but we've got a couple more questions coming in here before we hop off. So we've got one here about the Mustang Mach-E. My father is retired from Ford, and I believe they are getting the friends and family discount for the Mach-E. And I have one available if anyone wants it. Forget that I even said anything there. Allie, I will take it. We will take it. Thank you for your offer. Yeah, let's just move right on past that. But yes, if they get the friends and family discount, and if you're able to share that with us, I'm about to make a purchase of a Mach-E in probably January, February, depending on when mine comes. But we're even considering maybe getting 2 in order to really put the GT up against the Performance Y that we have. I'd love to take both to the track and see how they compare. Because I really think, as Cody suggested earlier, the Mach-E is pretty much a Model Y in sheep's clothing. It's a different experience, but it's one that is comparable, and it comes down to preference. And so, especially when you get the GT up against the dual motor performance Model Y, I think it's going to be a really cool time to see the Ford versus Tesla instead of Ford versus Ferrari. Any long-term goals to expand to other parts of the country? Absolutely. If you want to work with us to help us expand, again, right now it's myself, Cody as kind of the primary. We're working with also our friend Gabe out of Portland. And so we're kind of thinking a lot about the West Coast. I've got some friends in LA, some friends in San Diego that we'll probably work with as well. So we're thinking primarily about the West Coast, being that it's also kind of what we've seen the most lucrative market. with maybe exceptions for some other cities, maybe Austin, Texas, for example, might be a very lucrative one. I can imagine somewhere in Florida, probably New York. Building out long term, there's kind of no limits, but we're just thinking about what can we do at this point, and so our main focus is limited to the West Coast. Cody, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would just add if anyone is interested in what we're doing or is doing anything similar with Turo or has their own electric vehicles that they want to do anything similar, please get in touch, because we are thinking about how can we scale this as much as possible, and that might go beyond us, like two people wouldn't be able to manage countrywide fleet, but we are thinking of various ways of expanding, and part of that could probably includes a lot of other people. So yeah, please keep being involved in the community here and let us know if you want to be involved in any way, and maybe we can come up with something. So
yeah, I think that's going to be probably a pretty good way to start wrapping that up. But yeah, effectively, we're looking to grow this out as much as we can up until Tesla's shared network it comes out, and we'll do whatever makes sense at that time. But just increasing accessibility, it's not just about the San Francisco Bay Area. It's not just about California. It's not just about the West Coast. As much as we can do to make these cars more accessible, even taking, again, minimal risks on our part with buying a car that may not make sense, like the Maki. We don't know what the actual numbers will look like yet. We're gonna take those risks, and we're going to share that opportunity with people as much as possible to show what we can about how electric vehicles are just like kind of the I think personally the better option for 95% of consumers, and long term it'll be 100% of consumers. So yeah, we want to continue doing that, and we'll continue this conversation offline. If you follow us on Twitter, Instagram, here on YouTube, we're the Kilowatts, or just Kilowatts without the vowels. And yeah, we really appreciate. Thank you, Cody. Kind of more on the analytics side, but hopping onto the media side today to kind of discuss with people what we're doing. And really appreciate everyone's time, everyone's questions, everyone who tuned in. And we'll see you in the next one. Thanks, Cody.
Thanks, everybody.